bursting with emotion. As I look out at the space in front of me, I'm reminded how empty and full the world is to me right now. I have everything and nothing all at once. I work hard and yet I feel lazy all the time. I'm sorry for trying. I kick myself for trying. I find it hard to admit defeat because my ancestors did not live under the foot of somebody else for me to be walked all over. I tell them I'm sorry for worshipping some white boy as if I'm kneeling at his shrine. I'm sorry for expecting him to save the world. I know everybody wants better for me because I have everything. When they say the world is full, it's an overstatement. I should be feeding my foremothers the fruits of my labor. I'm sorry for expecting him to save the world that he set on fire in the first place. I know that my world is full, but full is an overstatement when everything I do pales in comparison to paleness. My ambitions will never glitter as brightly as blue eyes. I'm the golden child of my immigrant family, but what does that matter if my hair isn't as golden? Outstretched lily-coloured hands like vines and brambles growing towards me, not stopping until I look across, and the gap can no longer be bridged with brown bodies. I look across and I see green fields and lovely flowers, and the beautiful white women are already miles ahead. Thank you.
Put back on your jacket and head for the door. Before you leave, stop and look in the mirror. Are you still black today? If yes, then take that hoodie off before you leave. Put on a teethy smile instead. Yes, that smile a mother or father gives their child before turning the lights out at night. Only your father is gone. But it wasn't a choice. No, he's dead. No, seriously, he's dead. He died post-operation when I was 4 years old. But it's still something I have to explain, yes, just like that, because otherwise people think the main reason I say I need to ask my mum, or that my mum will be coming to parents' evening, or that my mum is going away for the weekend, is because my father left. You know what people are like, you know what people assume, but yeah, he's dead. Anyway, that smile, put it on and walk out the door. You look good today in your COS jeans and your Urban Outfitters jumper. You look really cool, just like those white boys used to chat up at those house parties when you were 16. Clothes just hang so differently on white skin, so that when I put on those very same size 8 Doc Martens, they're too big. They're always too big. There's always more space to fill. Maybe you never got over that. Maybe you never got over the fact that you lost your virginity to a white girl. No, she was your girlfriend, and you loved her even though you got uncomfortable when she called you her chocolate pot. Started listening to the Libertines and the Smiths and the Stone Roses and the Arctic Monkeys and Tudor Cinema Club and M83 and the Maccabees and the Neighbourhood and the Strokes and the Kooks and then Bell and Sebastian and Foster the People, and say how much she loves black on white on black on her when we're fucking. No, nothing like that. You will never look as good as those white boys because you'll never be a white boy. The white boys at your school were racist because they're racist. That's always a good enough excuse, so I forgive them. It's the reason I went to private school in the first place. You know, once one of them said before adding me to a group chat, does this mean we can't say nig? I mean, I suppose I shouldn't have wanted to join that group chat anyway. The name of it was Nignog. Nignog's on the wall. Before they added me, I've lost it. Before they changed it, of course, Nignog, lol, isn't that funny? Say it, Nignog, Nignog. Nignog, Nignog. Say it, Nignog. It sounds a bit like police sirens. Let's not get into that though. Actually, no, let's get into that. In this 2019, white women still cross the road at night when they see me walking down. Some stop and pretend like they're looking for something just to see me walk past, just to see themselves safe, like the white men who look down on me on the tube. It's only because I read on the tube, and I guess that's surprising because, lol, do black people even read? I know, it's shocking. Every time, it feels like I want to be but I'm really enjoying my book. I had to read it for my personal statement. It's not like I was going to get into Oxford or Cambridge or anything, but I had plans to go to New York for the summer to work on this mentoring program. And then the interviewer warned me, said, "Oh, you should be careful out there." I would have been careful picking up my pen to stab it into his right eye socket, but I got up and left anyway. A very long time ago, my parents was called into my primary school because I'd supposedly been bullying a white boy in my class called Matthew. I think I called him crap at playing the triangle. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, I didn't leave the house that morning because I decided I didn't want to be 10 times more likely to get stopped and searched, or another attainment gap statistic, or the reason why a white lady crosses the road, or ask where I'm really from, or called a nig in another group chat, or be the person the whole class turns to when it's a lesson about slavery, or be expected to know everything about the civil rights, or the person white children stare at when I'm in the south of France, or the north of England for that matter, or the parent that tells their black son or daughter that they are worthless, asked if I've read why I'm no longer talking to white people about race by another white person, another Windrush deportee. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, I didn't leave the house that morning because I decided I didn't want to be, or as Audre Lorde wonders, I who am bound by my mirror as well as my bed, which me will survive, or exist, 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 or just leave the house that morning because I decided I didn't want to be. That's my son collapsed there, my son crumpled there, my son lying there, my son positioned there, my daughter repositioned there, my daughter as exhibit A there, my daughter dumped there, my son hidden away there, my son blue there, my son dangling there, my son caged there, my daughter in the gurney there, on the slab there, in the drawer there, my daughter splayed there, my son locked down there, my son hanging there, my son bleeding out there, my son growing frigid there, my daughter deposited there, my son inside the chalk there, my daughter being bagged there, my daughter on the slab there, my son crushed there, my son rearranged there, my son crumpled in the door there, my daughter's neck shrinking in the noose there, my son's left eye over there, my son as exhibit B, my son behind the wheel there, my son under the wheel there, my son slumped over the wheel there, my son, my daughter blooded there, blooded and not moving there, my daughter in the doorway there, on the stoop down, on the block, in front of her kids, just inside the barbershop, face down in the streets, outside the bodega, inside the bodega, in the black alley behind the bodega, on the videotape, on a block from home, leaving home, hanging out at home, in the schoolyard, on the blackstop, in his bed, in her kitchen, in my arms, in my arms, in my arms. That's my son shot to look thug, that's my daughter shot to look more animal, shot as kill, shot as prey, shot as conquest, shot as solution, shot as a lesson, shot as warning, shot as comeback, shot as playback, shot for sport, shot for history. That's my son not being alive anymore there, that's my child coming to rest, one layer below the surface of the rest of my life there. March 12th, 2012, Pasadena, California. Kendrick McDade, 19, was chased and shot 7 times by the police officers. A 911 caller falsely reported being robbed at gunpoint by 2 black men. McDade's final words were, "Why did they shoot me?" As the moon tangled its beams and grew monstrous, huge over his body, he wanted that answer. As usual, I arrived too late. He had already dispersed and become an awkward hour. Son of the mother of mistake, his timing and route were askew, but because walk, because upright, because Africa, because decision, because Tuesday, because loaded gun, because running, because too black, because identified, because uniform, because breathless, because unable, because America. Because your mama, because Mississippi, because uniform, because Obama. Because chase, because unarmed, because convenient, because mistaken, because threatened, because ritual, because no one will miss you. Because beast, because innocent, because they could, because they could, because they could, because they could, because they... I usually give my boys names anyone can remember. Scapegoat, target, pup walk, He did it overnight. The name Kendrick so quashed his potential. He should have been victim, identify, bullseye, not again, miracle, 2 black men with a gun. How about accident? Perfect. I never had children, I just had accidents. September the 14th, 2013, after being involved in a traffic accident, Jonathan Farrell, 24, knocked on the door of a nearby house for help. The woman inside called the police. They arrived and shot him 10 times. My son said, "I just had an accident, can I use the phone?" She said, "You're black." My son said, "It'll only take a minute, I just need to call the police." She heard, "Call the police." My son said, "I know it's late, but I just had an accident." She said, 911. The police said, "Is he black?" She said, "He's black." When the gun arrived, it said, "I just had an accident." The gun 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 said, "I just had an accident." Thank you.
The fringes.
Prayers. Where are my prayers? When they cried last night, laying 10 injured, where were the prayers wrapped up in hashtags? Did you pray when Nabra was found across the waters in a pond? Or did you let it slip away like the string on a balloon, as if it were always unbound? I could almost hear her now as she sighs high up in the clouds. A brother also climbed up to heaven last night. Did you pray him goodbye? Or did you sit silent on your bed, waiting for the headlines to pray instead? No. No. You slowly rocked from side to side, feeling numb from a pain you have faced for as long as you can remember. It's as though Mr. 48-year-old clean-shaven suspect had strapped you to the wheel of his white van and drove at 90 down memory lane. I will pray, not on Twitter, but here, in the privacy of my own room, watching my siblings sleep, their heavy chests sinking only to rise up again.
The fringes.
To Nabra, after my salams, let me make my confession. I have wronged you. When you came to me, you were enshrouded in the news of your death. I cried silently in my room, scrolling through my Twitter feed, scared, confused, angry. I was swimming, drowning, I remember. It was your face that filled me with terror. Your beaming smile. I remember I used to wear my scarf in the same style too. I am pretty sure I had the exact same color too. I wept, I promise. I even wrote your name in a poem. I know it was selfish. I had no other way. I had to find a way to speak your name. I needed to use your name. And that is exactly why I owe you an apology. I apologize first for my ignorance. You were vulnerable, and I did not see that. Instead, I bulldozed through. I raged at the world using your body as armor. I shouldn't have done that. But what else do you want me to do? You already know what drives people like us into madness. It is difficult even to list them, you know, that it doesn't have a name, this Islamophobia, you know. You know that, right? But I can tell you, I don't go a day where I don't hear that damned word somewhere. I don't even know what it means. It's foreign, not English for definite. Neither Islam nor phobia are English words, huh? The truth is, those are not words for me, not for us. They are for those who are scared of people like us. You know that, right? You understand what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry. Here I go again. Me. But what am I to do when there is nowhere to get that pity and fear? Nowhere else to be heard except on an over-embellished theatrical show. Islamophobia, I shall call it, and it shall have costumes of Damascene silk, ripped fearfully at the breast with bullet holes. I shall make the tailors weave around the holes with threads of gold in beautiful arabesque patterns. Funny that. I'm doing my dissertation on arabesque. I apologize for using your name like this. Our world is a wretched place. The living speak to the dead because the dead are the only people left. The rest bury themselves in trenches and they shoot at each other. So I sit entrenched and beg for your forgiveness. How pathetic am I? Tell me, do you pity me or do you scorn? Do I disturb you? The truth is, Nabra, everything about you, from your name to your smile to your abaya, was a symbol, a spring leading to a river. But you knew that. We all knew that. You lived with it. I live with it. We shrug the pains of it off. The questions in the back of our minds when we are rejected from a job, or when we notice looks, or when we tweet about dead children in Yemen, Syria, Myanmar, Gaza, only to be reciprocated by ourselves. The pain of living in a world like a hall of mirrors. When you cry, only the same faces cry back at you. The loneliness, Nabra, you must understand the loneliness. When I saw your picture, I must confess, I retweeted it. I called it Islamophobia. I let the anger bleed through my nostrils. I let the blood and tears of 1.8 billion people drench your beaming face. I'm sorry. So sorry for what I did. There was nowhere else to put the anger, the fear, the deep sorrow. Nowhere else. I tried to rely on words, on wars. That did not do it. I prayed so many times, Nabra, so many times. Indeed, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. Enough. Were you not a victim too? Did you not suffer in your life like we do? Did they not make us symbols of our own demise? Did we just drive ourselves so sorrowfully mad? Yes, we called it a hate crime. And many of us still do, but what else do you expect us to say when every inch of our bodies are flagged? Our lives are symbolically Muslim. If we wrong, it's because we are Muslim. If we act right, we get a gold star for being a moderate Muslim. We become so good at defining ourselves because we are Muslim. You can hardly blame us for flagging even our own deaths as Muslim too. We have become victims of our own Islamophobia, Nabra. We were afraid of ourselves, afraid of that thing inside us. It haunted us. That thing we were taught should not exist, should be suppressed. The thing we were taught to believe was not normal to have, not for us. That thing that if we let out would pose a great risk to all of democracy. It was that very same thing that let the tears flow the first time I saw you. The same thing that made me retweet your face. The same thing that made me write this apology to you. Thank you for listening.
The fringes.
Every time we talk, I feel like an alien. Genetically, I tick your boxes. You get excited when you realize that Our blood belongs to the same rich soil of Mesopotamia, the land between the two rivers. However, as soon as I stumbled on my first word of Arabic in reply to you, there was distance between us. You thought that maybe we weren't actually that similar. The cradle of civilization didn't nurture me in the same way you feel it mothered you. You scrunched your face in confusion and your brows furrowed in disbelief when you realized I don't know your mother tongue. You claimed that I was lazy and that I walked around thinking I was too good for my roots. But that couldn't be further from the truth. You don't know how much I've tried to be like you, how much I've tried to fit your expectations. The perfect Iraqi girl, her wit sharp and her daintiness dazzling. She absorbs seamlessly into that fertile soil and she makes the land prosper. It hurts that you couldn't tolerate me. You couldn't grasp that maybe, just maybe, we weren't raised the same way. I'm sorry that when life threw me into the deep end, it didn't free up time for working on my daintiness and wit. My mental turmoil is something I would never wish upon anyone. But like my fellow Iraqis, I have achieved and grown. I want to embody Iraq and every fiber of her being. I long to be like her people, smart, outrageously intelligent, yet gentle as ever. Their kind eyes and gentle smiles trick you into thinking that life was nothing but bliss. They don't give anything away about the hardship they've had to bravely fight against. I want to feel like an Iraqi so much that it hurts. But you would never know that. Nor does it even matter to you, since you shut me out as soon as I stumbled on that first word of Arabic.
The fringes. On the fringes.
Since I was young, my skin has bothered me. I would cry in the mirror when I got too tanned. I would cry till my lungs threatened to collapse on me. I would cry and cry because the white dress my mother picked out for me was too harsh for my skin. I just wanted to be pretty like all those Barbies. My mother would cradle my face with her fair hands she inherited from her uncle and tell me how beautiful my tan skin was and that it didn't matter what people said. And it's true, it doesn't matter what people say, it matters what I say, and what I say is this: my skin is ugly. My skin is a violent reminder that I'll never be those dainty ladies I used to read about in Jane Austen novels. My skin reminds me that I'm the survivor of rape victims, of colonizers that couldn't leave my ancestors alone. My skin is marked by spots that just don't want to go away. My skin is painful. So god awfully painful to look at because it reminds me that I am not white. And how messed up is that? I am caught in this whirlpool of self-hate just because I'm not the same color as my oppressor. What will my grandfather say? What will my grandmother say? Their granddaughter who defied the odds to be in this land, to breathe the cold, bitter air of the people who killed their mothers and fathers, is ashamed of her culture, heritage, and language. Look at what you've done to me. Look at what you've done to me. I have anxiety of the skin, the heart, the soul, and the mind. When I started university, my skin became a statement, an issue, an uncomfortable silence that white people just didn't want to break. My skin wasn't mine anymore. It was a political statement, and it was for the whole world to see. My skin and my anxiety became one, and it followed me everywhere, threatening to cut my skin just so when it heals, I can see that bit of white that reminds me of how fucked my self-hate became. And now my anxiety is calculated. My anxiety is now a weapon to use against me. Fuck the people who tell me that race shouldn't be a factor in my life. Tell that to my psyche. Tell that to the multiple breakdowns in public restrooms because the white gaze is the sharpest thing that has touched my skin. My inhales are in tandem with the issues of today. My tears are bottled and sold to corporations who want to show how diverse they are. My weakness is their power. My weakness is a reminder that my ancestors died for nothing. My skin is a statement.
And I still hate it some days. And I still want to see the man-made silver of white on my ugly brown skin. Some days looking in a mirror could be the hardest task because of my reflection shows the eyes of my ancestors who are ashamed of me for betraying them. And I have betrayed them. Look at what you've done to me. I have anxiety of the skin, the heart, the soul, and the mind. Thank you.
The fringes. On the fringes.
They say that when I speak, I sound clever. When I speak, I sound intelligent. When I speak, I sound smart. But I think we should pick these answers apart. What they mean is when I speak, I sound profound. I sound erudite. What they mean is when I speak, I sound right, but ultimately, I sound white. Now, by association and in connotation, white must mean educated. Thus, insinuations and implications show non-white must mean uneducated. Now tell me, what is uneducated about a man so selfless at heart that he would plant first worlds at his daughter's feet that rip his third world apart? Tell me, what is uneducated about a work ethic so fierce the man works himself to the bone while behind him the Brexit voter sneers? Tell me, what is uneducated about a mother whose mother tongue has been mocked and scorned and picked apart by the vultures who leave her native songs unsung, who make her head fall in her hands hung, her fingers stained red from the broken English that she bled, because the blue-eyed vultures didn't like the piece of cloth she wore on her head. Now pause, take a step back, let us examine all the facts. Let us be rational, civilized, if you please. After all, is that not what the white man gave us? Along with blankets of disease, along with chains that bind with ease, along with land they saw fit to seize, along with drones and UAVs, along with invasion and marine occupation that goes unseen, denial of freedom for Philistine. What is educated about waking children with bombs, not birds born of giant metal beasts? But wait, we need those as national security decrees. They're here to defeat ISIS, who is apparently everyone in the Middle East. What is educated about making me despise, chastise, want to westernize my skin and hair? But you see, that'll all be fixed by some fair and lovely. What is educated about a system so corrupt it led Maya Angelou's 10,000 to walk through Ferguson with their hands up? What is educated about a wall-building, sexist, classist, lying scumbag of a racist tangerine that, you know what, I don't even have a line for that guy because he's just an idiot that should never be heard and never be seen? What is educated about demonizing, criminalizing, Fox Newsifying 1.8 billion people of a peaceful faith, so much so that now most of them are praying to Allahu Akbar to just get them home safe? So, when I speak, my words are heavy with a struggle still alive. When I speak, my words are dripping with a history unrecognized. When I speak, my words are imbued with the worldly knowledge my father planted. When I speak, my words are in tune with my mother's unbroken chanting. So when I speak, I do in fact sound educated, and I may in fact sound right, but never for even a fleeting moment think that I could ever sound right.